Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Roger Noakes here with Rock and a Hard Place, joined by four of our five other editors. We have Jay Bukowski, R.D. Sullivan, Al Tucker, Rob Smith. Today, we're discussing issue 11 of Rock and a Hard Place. Awesome issue. The cover is terrifying. That bear will eat you if you don't purchase this, but if you do purchase it, he'll be a nice pet. We'll start. Let me read the back cover copy. Al is our back cover copy writer. You realize you've kidnapped a baby and you're the good guy. Talk about that story very shortly. You thought you knew the story of Ken McElroy in Skidmore, Missouri. That story talked about on one of our earlier Patreon episodes. Sign up for $5 or $1 and you hear that. The world of your family. Choose. You spent your life not getting involved, but now you're faking it for your life and hers. Rock and a Hard Place magazine returns with issue 11, featuring more of the most breathtaking, sweltering realist fiction around, with some of the world's finest writers at their grimiest and most unforgiving, including Joshua Murray, Colin Brightwell, Stefan Stursky, Mary Thorson, Jay Bechtel, Jacqueline Freemore, Jason Allison, Christine Blackwicks, Jane Herstenstein, Anthony Neil Smith, John Weegley, and Casey Woolfolk. Rock and a Hard Place is the literary magazine that knows when you go 11 out of 10, you're bound to get 86. The phrase 86 we discovered comes from old school 1930s soda jerks, as they're called, that would say you're about to get nixed and rhyme it with 86, something like that. So that's where the origin of that is, because I couldn't just leave the phrase there without knowing what it is. Okay, so pick it up. It's on Amazon. You can request it at Barnes & Noble and other bookstores. The forward is from Paul Garth. Awesome forward about failure. Great, obviously relates to Rock and a Hard Place. First story is The Spins by Joshua Murray. This is the line that Al was referring to when he wrote, "You've realized you've kidnapped a baby," which you don't want to realize. Great story. You feel really bad for this guy, but you also know that he's not the kind of person that should have a baby, should be walking around with a baby. This is not, you fear for this baby the entire time. What do you guys think of this story?
Well, not just for the baby, you fear for the guy too, because like in the scope of the story, he's drunk carrying a baby down the street at night barefoot. If he had gotten caught, oh my God, this story will haunt me.
Yeah, and this is the best scenario for this kid.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like, to be with this character walking down the street at 3 a.m. is actually the best thing that could happen for this kid, as harrowing as it is. The other thing I really loved about this story is that it's kind of a legacy story, because it ties back to a story that we published. When did we publish Josh's other piece? Maybe issue 6 or 7.
It all blurs together for me.
Yeah,
I don't.
11 issues, and we don't remember the exact ones.
There was like a BB gun, right? Or pellet gun. Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah.
You can't rob a store with a BB gun. Don't try that.
No. Especially a butcher shop.
Well, yeah, right. Which factors in as well. Yeah, so this story, this guy goes home with this woman who he knew in high school, and they're wasted, and she's addicted to all sorts of different things and has a mess of an apartment. And there's a screaming baby, and the woman passes out, and the protagonist is unable to wake the woman up, and finds the baby covered in filth and doesn't know what to do. So tries to take the baby elsewhere to get care, and shenanigans ensue. It's Rock and a Hard Place. Next story, Ride Along, also shenanigans. Colin Brightwell. Stevie is the younger of 2 siblings. His older brother is muscle for a drug dealer. His father is abusive. This is a story I really love it, and this kind of story. And was thinking about it when I wrote the dedication, where I was talking about like, you understand why someone becomes a villain and you choose not to. Well, Stevie doesn't choose not to. Stevie chooses to become a villain. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like Colin's work a lot. And choosing to be a villain, I guess, I mean, I don't know what other opportunity he had to do there if he was choose to be a villain at the time or be a villain later. You know, it seemed like that was his path all along. But yeah, I really like Colin's work a lot.
Do you think it was a choice, Rob, or do you think he was like forced into?
No, I think it was a choice at that time, but I think he would have had to make that choice either now or later. And I think this is the best time for him to make that choice. As far as I mean, I don't think his brother had the best for him. His father. So do unto
Okay.
others before they do unto you, I guess.
I think he makes a choice at the end in how he leaves his family that was unnecessary and lends to him being the bad guy in this. I don't want to give anything away, but
Right.
yeah, like he did what he had to do, but maybe he could have done a little less. Maybe.
Just a smidge.
Well,
Now-
then we wouldn't have published it then.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we would have.
Oh yeah.
I think the story, like, it's not a critique about the story. The story is fabulous. But I think that, like, it would have also stood if the protagonist had just left,
Yeah.
And this story in particular, and I think there's a few of them that have actually made that crossover. It started life as a stone's throw story, right?
Yeah.
We've got another one of those in this issue.
And I think that that's sort of the really cool thing about Stone's Throw just in general is that, we put out these themed prompts, and sometimes we get something that works perfectly with the prompt, and sometimes we get something that works beyond the prompt, and we've had a few of those stories that I think we've asked the writer to maybe provide some edits. In this case we did for this one, and he came back with something that was stronger, I think, than his initial submission to Stone's Throw. And I think it really works in this context.
Yeah. Sometimes stories just don't fit into that tiny little 1,000 to 2,000 word. There's too much that has to be said to really make the story sing. And so, yeah, when he went back and added to this one, it just really made it golden.
Yep.
The quote that we started the story with, we do that with each of the stories, called the pull quote, says he was at the bottom of the double wide trailer food chain, which I thought was a great line. He's also got references to Zelda throughout, which is really cool. Just really well written story. Okay, Rescue Me, Stefan Stursky, also reappearing in Rock and a Hard Place. So Rescue Me is a story of Horace going to rehab, but Horace's significant other does not want Horace to go. And I think what's really great about this story is that the narrative voice is so clearly disgusted and sad and hurt at the same time. And it's this very kind of painful hurt, because it's like they're hurt by this person doing the right thing for themselves, but by doing that, they're being left out. And
Yeah.
Horace, go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna say it's like you're not even thinking about the healing part of it. It's really about the well, they're leaving our life behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When anybody gets to make a change, it's like they try to drag you back down. So it's like you're trying to do the right thing, or you're trying to be a better person, you're trying to lose weight, stop drinking, do whatever you're trying to do, better yourself. Always people trying to pull you back down to where they're at. They don't want you to leave them alone. They don't want to be left alone.
It's a misery loves company kind
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
I think in this story in particular, it adds a really great duality to what you're experiencing as a reader, because you have the main character, and yeah, they're betrayed, they're devastated, they love this person, even though you don't say love, But as normal people on the outside reading this and seeing somebody about to get out, like getting the help they need, being able to start, like the thing that we want for people struggling with addiction in our society, like we're cheering for that, even though we're seeing this person's hurt. It makes it a really interesting read.
Yep. And I love the message he sent us after he got the edited copy back.
What did he say? I don't remember.
He thanked
Oh,
2 specific editors, Jay
Oh,
and
that's
another
right.
editor.
That's right. Morgan, do we? What is?
I don't want to blow
your,
up Morgan's spot.
It's because all of Microsoft is tied to like your Microsoft email account, which was one that I started on Hotmail when I was a teen under the name of Spicy McHaggis.
That's right.
Oh.
Spicy Mac.
And
Is it like
so-
haggis? Is that like a Scottish food? Is that?
Oh
well,
yeah.
haggis is, but Spicy McHaggis comes from a Dropkick
Dropkick
Murphy
Murphys,
song.
yep.
Okay.
And so yeah, I haven't been able to change it since I
Yeah.
was a teen. So all my edits come out as from Spicy McHaggis.
Yeah, so Stefan thanked Jay and Spicy McHaggis for the wonderful edits.
All right. Well, Stefan, if you're watching, Morgan is Spicy McHaggis.
Not anymore. We fixed it. Well,
No, I think you should leave that. Change it back.
Yeah, put it back.
there's a toggle. I can be whoever I want.
Yeah, make edits as both, as Morgan and Spicy McHaggis, so people
Yeah.
believe there's this extra mysterious editor. All right. For Casadastrophobia by Mary Thorson. If you're a Patreon subscriber, which you should do, this is what I referenced. We have a discussion with Mary all about this story. It's a fictionalized version of the story of Ken McElroy. Who wants to tell this story? Explain this.
Go
What do you
ahead,
think?
Jay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well,
Whoever.
I'll let Al go.
But just that he was back in the early 80s, he terrorized a small town called Skidmore, Missouri. And for years, and just totally flagrantly brutalized people and shot people and made the system work for him until, should I spoil it?
I mean, it's well known.
history.
It's
Yeah.
well known, yeah.
Yeah.
Until one day,
Oh, too soon.
one day they'd had enough. He'd been convicted of nearly killing someone and then got out on bail immediately and went right back to his ways. And somebody shot him to death. And in 40 some years, no one has ever, the entire town witnessed it. And in 40 some years, no one has ever told law enforcement who did it. And the local police, the state police, the FBI, they've all been all over that town and no one has ever cracked. But this goes inside. I mean, it's not from the viewpoint of the townspeople. It's from people right next to Ken McElroy.
Yeah. Well, Trina was his second wife, or was she her?
Not his
third?
first. Not his first.
I know she wasn't the
don't know.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That's one thing I like about Mary, though. She mines history and then she writes a fictionalized story about whether it be somebody along the margins or somebody that's in that town or somebody who's been affected by it. She does a very good job of using the historical events that to put them into crime or any other story.
Right, and looks at it from, there's a line in a different story in here. I forget where it's from. We'll find it eventually, but it talks about people on the periphery. But Mary takes the perspective of the people on the periphery, both periphery of the story, but periphery of like society. So she usually takes the perspective, maybe always, of women in these historic, these stories, these true crime stories, and looks at it through their eyes. And they're not necessarily the perpetrator, but they're connected to the perpetrator. She's also got this story in the Thicker Than Water Shotgun Honey anthology, which we talked to her about. But I thought, I think about this story and have thought about it before. And when I read the book about this incident in Skidmore, Missouri, what occurred to me was that, this is a failure of, I think, society and the community as a whole, because it shouldn't have had to come to this. They should have stopped this guy before. And that's kind of one of the many things I was getting at in the latest newsletter we sent, where I talk about, Paul's forward to this issue about failure and saying, like, these stories are about individual failure, yes, but they're also about larger collective failures. And I think this is an example of a massive collective failure. Trina should not have ever been placed in this position.
And I think so. The story that she has in the Shotgun Honey anthology, I think, is upcoming in Best Mystery.
Yep.
And she also did one for us too, last year for Stone's Throw. That was the Charles Starkweather case.
Yeah.
So she's developing a series of true-ish crime.
True-ish. All right. Next, we've got Rufus from Jay Bechtel, which is about a dachshund.
You were really like adamant that we run this story.
Yes.
I mean, we all loved it, but you especially.
All right, sorry, I sneezed my headphones off. You'll see that in the video when we post it. But anyway, I'm a violent sneezer. Rob and I discussed that on Twitter recently, how our shoulders hurt when we sneeze. Yeah, but you see why now.
Yes.
So I have a dachshund mix, so this story spoke to me. So I was very adamant about taking this story. I love it, but I think it's good not just because I like dachshunds, but because it takes what could be a typical story and looks at it in a different way, like throws a different element in there. So it's guy owes money to, I don't know if he's a bookie or a loan shark or whatnot. But it's, kind of doing a traditional crime story with this dog thrown in and chaos ensuing, or shenanigans ensuing, as they must in a Rock and Hard Place story. So it's a fun one. We sometimes try to lighten the mood a little bit amidst the darkness.
Yeah, but it wasn't so light at the end.
Yeah, no.
No. But there's a dog. So
There's a dog.
The dog was cute, but
all right. Next is our Fun with a Rock and a Hard Place, which we don't know who's editing next year's Best American Mystery and Suspense, but these should be included. I'll appeal right now. These are our auto shopper descriptions. My wife wrote one. Jay, did your kids write one?
no, they had like toyed around with the idea of writing one, and then ultimately they didn't want to do any work during the summer.
Oh, okay. Well, you should have forced them, but
I should have.
Yeah.
Bad dad.
Well, that's on you. So yeah, I've got one. I'm waiting for someone to tell me, like, reach out to me and tell me they understand the joke I made. But it hasn't happened yet. So please do. It's about the car being discovered in the New Jersey Pine Barrens. Don't tell anybody. Don't say it.
Okay, I won't say. I think I get the reference though.
No, of course you do. You get the reference.
Okay, good.
And Al might.
I'm drawing a blank.
Well, it's on page 115. Read it and then you'll know.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
talked to Jen Connolly about it in the Patreon recording we have with Jen Connolly. You discuss it at length. Go back to that.
Oh, is
Listen
it
to
I feel like we just gave Al homework, and that doesn't feel very nice.
He's retired. He can do it.
He already reads everything that
He
gets
does.
submitted.
He reads absolutely everything. And I got to give props to Morgan. I thought the Jode family special was pretty amazing.
Wait,
I was really proud of that one. I won't lie.
wait, who's the Jode family again?
That
Grapes
was
of Wrath.
Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, okay.
They
Oh,
lived
is
in
it?
the boxcar towards the end.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. How did I forget that? Yeah. Dogs don't fare well in that.
Oh.
At all. All right. Okay, next one, Club Night, Jason Allison. We're back to RHP Darkness with this story.
Did we missed in the end, but Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Oh, did we? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Jackie. Okay, 6. In the end, Jacqueline, a few more. Great story, nursing home. When I worked in EMS, years, like 20 years ago, obviously went to nursing homes a lot. They're just sad, rough places, which makes them decent setting for a Rock and Hard Place story. I can't believe we haven't had a nursing home based story before. I don't think we have. But this is a woman, her husband is being harassed by another another, what do you call a person staying in a
Resident.
nursing home? Resident. There you go. I was going to say inmate, but I don't. That's all that was coming to mind. Resident. Yeah. And she decides to do something about it. I think it's great story of like someone just being pushed too far and you watching them become a villain.
Yep.
And the other thing with this that Jackie does really well is she really focuses in on like the wife that's on the outside is, obviously the woman that's chasing after her husband is mistaken, doddering, her husband is frail, doddering, like this whole idea of like she's basically infantilizing anyone that's living at the nursing home or discounting anything that they have to say. And then in the end, we find out that, people know what's actually going on.
Jay, I gotta say, you got some really good light in your room. I'm in this sickly yellow glow, and you look just bright and just
Like a
eyes
halo.
glow. You look healthy and everything, and I look like some atomic bunker or something. What's going on here?
Well, what you need is a Hawaiian shirt, bro.
Oh,
It's-
yeah.
it's actually the light source is coming up from the shirt. Even though it's got skulls on it.
They're
Happy skulls.
tropical. Yeah, happy skulls.
Happy skulls.
It's like they're wearing like a lei, like they're in the Temple of Doom or something. You're
Yeah.
about to have your heart ripped out. Or Joe versus the Volcano, a great
Joe
movie.
versus the Volcano is an amazing movie. I sometimes, it coined the phrase brain fog before COVID.
I haven't seen it in many decades, so I'll have to look for that.
Yep.
Okay, now we'll go to Club Night by Jason Allison.
Yeah.
Kid has too much drugs. What do you guys think?
That
I
last
agree.
line's really good.
Yeah, this story is the ending. That's what I said when I read it. I think my comment, like on our spreadsheet where we review all the stories, was like, Jesus, the last line. You just feel terrible for this
Yeah.
kid. I don't know how else to describe this without ruining the story for people. So
And I
And
like
it's
the way,
a
I mean,
short
it's,
one.
yeah, it's short. And it's also the short sentences that just makes it kind of, immediate. It's just kind of I like it a lot.
no, and it's second person. Al, how do you feel about that?
Well, this not my favorite thing. My thing about it, I'm coming around. It makes it's a party trick. You can't do it for long. A story of this length is just about right.
I used to, I always say the same thing, Alex. Like, I don't like second person, and then I think I like second person done well. I don't. It's the thing. So it's got to be. I always feel like it's a Saturday Night Live skit that goes on too long. Sometimes, but
Exactly.
I really found some really good second person. I read a second person novella for a blurb for Shotgun Honey. I can't remember the name right now, but great. I didn't think I was going. I was like, oh my god, this is. Hopefully, this is just the prologue is in second person. The whole novella was, and it captivated me. It was I once I get the name, I'll pass it on to y'all. But it was really good.
But
Yeah.
I would say I've come around to saying second person is one of those things that doesn't work, except when it does. Yeah.
I was talking to my kids recently. I don't even know how we got on the topic of like the tense that authors use. And I said I've got a story out there that is second person present tense. Like, why would you do that to people?
Yeah.
Which for my 13-year-olds, I was like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
This book's not out yet. Pete Duvall, Night Work. But that's the kind of the cover. Pete Duvall, Night Work.
Okay.
Not out yet. Really good.
Second person. One other thing, what this story reminded me of was, do you guys remember the movie Traffic?
Yeah.
It's like Topher Grace, and a bunch of their friends. They're like teen prep school. They're the children of the drug czar, and they are doing God knows what. I think they're smoking crack, and they have one kid overdose, and they just like drop his dead body in front of an ER. That's what this story reminds me of.
Yeah, some of that scene was supposed to be filmed in Louisville, and I think it got filmed in Cincinnati.
Oh.
Yeah, the screenwriters from Louisville, Stephen Gogan, something like that.
Oh yeah, I know that name.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since around the time it came
Yeah, no,
out.
it's been a long
but
time.
that scene sticks with me for whatever reason. Okay, 8. Modern Prometheus. Sorry, Christine, I can't pronounce that, but great story. You go to my notes. This is kind of a postpartum depression type story. Woman, her husband dies. She harvests his sperm before he dies. It's a terminal
yeah.
illness. I don't know that we're ever told what the terminal illness is. That's fine. Throughout the story, she's like tearing out these flowers. I won't tell you what she does with that. And then this kid she has from the husband's harvested sperm gets huge. We don't really know what's wrong with the child. But it's, I think, talking about films again, this reminded me of the Babadook. Not that there's a supernatural element to the story, because there isn't, but I think what the story is about is that parenting is hard and can be terrifying, which I think is what the Babadook is about. But yeah, so I really like this story. Not saying that my experience with parenthood was bad, only being able to pay for it, but.
And the actually, I think it was a car accident. It wasn't a
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
sudden death.
Yeah, it was like something sudden. But the other thing that I really enjoyed was the title itself. It's definitely a reference to Frankenstein, but Epimetheus was the mother of monsters as opposed to Prometheus, who brought the light to man, kind of thing. So that kind of myth nerdy thing, I appreciated that. I thought that was really an interesting thing. And this was a story that we are not afraid to go dark. I think this one stretched us. This was the one where it was like, are you really not afraid to go dark? Because we're willing to test that.
What I like on that note though, like what I really enjoyed about us going through the submission of this one was how many different takes were on it when we sat down to discuss the story, and kind of everyone came with their own like, well, I really feel like this says this, and it's really about this, and do we need to be concerned about this? And it kind of seemed like everyone came at it from sort of a different angle. Like we all agreed that it was a good story.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to hear kind of what everybody's takeaway was.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers on this one.
Another one, really comes through at the end. Yeah, great story. Next story, Zen Garden, Jane Herzenstein. Grandma's selling pot during the pandemic.
Yes,
yes.
this one was so cute.
And we needed it. Honestly, we weren't like the Jason Allison story, the Christine Blackwick story. We needed something to just like give us a glimmer.
There was something about, so in the story, like, if I remember correctly, it's being told mostly from like the kid of this woman who starts growing pot. And at first it's, there's neighbors who are bugging her mom, and then all of a sudden the neighbors are over and they're friends and they're all gardening together. Like what's like starting to go up, but like it was so cute, like this idea of like, oh my gosh, my mom has these rowdy neighbors, like she gave up part of her life to come be near us and help us, to like the mom, instead of having issues with these neighbors, like befriending them, starting a grow with them, like a pot operation in the basement, no bags. It's so cute.
Yeah. And I think this is a story that only exists in, the era of legalization. Otherwise, grandma's becoming Scarface.
I read that.
Which we would also accept.
We would run that story. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next story, 10, 2011 Nissan something. I think it's great. The title is great. I drive a 2012 Nissan Altima. This is by Anthony Neil Smith. I told him that when we accepted the story, or when we were going back and forth with edits or something like that, communicating with him. I forget what he drives, but something of similar vintage. And we discussed how those types of cars are becoming vintage, and that's kind of absurd. But I don't care. I don't need anything fancy. These things are kind of beasts. I don't know that Nissans are as good as they used to be, but mine has survived 110,000 miles on it, and it's a warrior. But the story itself, enough about oldish cars. Rhonda has kids. They live with their parents. And she's involved with this dude named Hoops. I'm gonna sneeze again. Who wants to tell the rest?
So she's involved with this guy named Hoops. And she's got kids of her own. She brings Hoops over to meet the grandmother, drop the kids off with the babysitter while they go out and find a score, and things go awry from there. Has Roger sneezed yet?
Yeah.
No. Still, he looks like he's holding it in.
No, it just hasn't come. But once I start talking, I'll sneeze again.
But Hoop seems to be better than her previous boyfriends. He's more cultured, a little more, got his shit together, and
yeah, the kids respect him, which I thought was a really nice way of showing that he's got a little more authority and a little more, and yeah, he's a respectful guy.
But that's part of the tell.
Yeah.
Right. And there's the stepfather who owns convenience stores, I believe, spots it, and sends her a text, but it is too late.
Yeah.
When she receives the text. You will need to read it to find out what happens, but it's Rock and a Hard Place, so you know that it's not good.
And you all just listen to this this podcast. This you've learned already, if you just follow Roger's social media, that you'll find out he has a Dachshund mix. Now the two. So if you just write a story with some of these things, then you might get selected for one of our issues.
Okay. All right. Let me tell you
that, or you'll know, like you'll know all his clues for when you have to guess his passwords.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Shit. No, the 2012 Nissan Altima is not a password. That's not. No, never. But well, maybe it should be, but no, it's
There you
not.
go.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I don't know if there's any other stories that I picked because of, but I didn't choose that story because it was a Nissan Altima or a Nissan something story. I thought it was a good story. That in itself will not get you.
I can't wait until we do our Nissan anthology.
Nissan Datsun mix anthology. We start seeing a bunch of stories with, little dogs in the car with the Nissans, and then
We
We're
heard
going
the
to-
way to get
we're going to the
privileged by
gym to work
Rock and
out,
Hard
lift
Place.
weights.
Yeah, that's pretty much my life. But yeah, I mean, well, I have a good dog story with the Nissan Altima. We drove 6 hours in the pouring rain to pick up my son from college, and the dog broke the window, so I had to drive with a garbage bag covering it. So that felt pretty rock in the hard place. But no one was murdered or anything. We're just driving in the rain with the window open. All right, next story: Harvest. Casey Wolfolk. A great story. It's a woman, Marisol, and Daniel, her father. There's a crop with an infection. I like to have stories. We like to have stories that, not always crime stories. This is kind of has a horror element to it. Let me read a quick excerpt that I underlined. Against the darkness, the field became a sea of glowing reds and oranges. Acres of sickly tendrils undulated in front of her, spilling their smoldering hues onto the surrounding elms and cottonwoods. It was beautiful and terrible in equal measure, like the angels Sister Mary had described to her as a child. An expanse of knee-high wheat danced in the evening breeze, stems of fire with alien light, a nightmare born into her waking hours. So there's an infestation of this crop she was depending upon. What do you guys like about this?
We're all about desperate
Fucking
people.
rude.
And why is she desperate?
It's right there.
I was preparing for another story. I'm sorry. We skipped the City Never Sleeps.
Oh God.
My brain stopped when you were like the crop. I'm like, what?
Oh no, I skipped to the harvest. Oh,
It's all right.
It's been a long week.
That's
We
all
should
right.
probably do these on like Monday.
Oh well. All right. Well, sorry, John Weekly. And
We'll get you.
yeah. All right. Sorry. So this story, City Never Sleeps, this is where the line, it's an existence on the periphery, comes from. People living in a house, lots of people. A woman is there. The protagonist finds her. She doesn't really know if she should be there. She's with a guy who's telling her to stay because he's worried about safety, and then some other guys come to pay him a visit. All right, we're on the correct story now.
Yeah. I love that this one, like the main character is so just like antisocial and wants nothing to do with anyone and gets dragged into this mess and eventual bloodbath, like by virtue of trying to be left alone, essentially.
And does the
Watching
right,
Barbarella in the
thing,
basement.
Yeah. Sounds like code for something. To watch Barbarella in the basement.
Yeah, but he definitely does the right thing, even though he's thrust into a
Mhm.
situation that he doesn't want to be involved with. Yeah, he's not looking for anything. He doesn't want a conversation. He just wants to be left alone.
I feel like if you've ever helped someone before and had that moment of like, oh my God, their problem is my problem now and I can't stop. Like, maybe really feel for this guy.
And it's also funny that, like we both he doesn't want to be bothered. He doesn't want to be, he wants to be left alone. But then he's in a house full of people.
Yeah.
You know,
Rooming house.
he's in a rooming house and he doesn't have any choice but to be around people and to interact, even though he doesn't want to. So
And I kind of wonder if his not caring ends up being his superpower, because he's got the clarity to do certain things that she couldn't in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Then he just goes to bed at the end. Like,
Yeah.
all right, go read
right.
the story, read what happens in the room next to him, and then just imagine going to bed, being like, "Yeah, fuck it. I'm
Oh.
tired now. Barbarella
So-
really wore me out."
The moral of this story is there are benefits to not giving a shit.
Mhm.
And you
Wow.
sleep
And
better, I
don't get
guess.
involved. Yes.
All right. Are we ready to actually talk about the harvest? I'm very sorry.
You're
I'm
fine.
mixing around. Well, I already read part of it.
Well, you know, it's. I was just looking. The imagery in there is really good, and especially from the beginning sentence. And stuff I've been noticing. There's a. It's the red is mentioned a lot, and the red lights from the distant cell tower at the beginning, and you've got the red fog from the trucks passing tail lights. It's, you know, it seems like it's for a harvest. There's a lot of darkness, and with that red symbology, I'm getting that, you know, the red harvest, this short story, you know, is that a short story, right? Not a novel. But anyway, yeah. So it just makes me all the language is used inside here, descriptive and really deepens the story. Orange roots, very descriptive language, a lot of colors, even though it's dark.
Yeah, and I think just the way Casey sets up the decision that has to be made, you know, really stacks the deck against the protagonist, and then it's like I thought it was really well executed, and I think that, you know, I think the way Al describes it on the back cover, the world or your family, choose. And that felt like the right thing to leave people with, because it was like, you know, your world versus the entire world. You know, where are you going to go with it?
Well, we know where
Definitely a rock and a hard place.
the protagonist in the modern Epimetheus would do with it. They would, sorry, kid. Anyway, excellent story, really great. There's also artwork in here. Great photography. I'm not going to show to the screen because you have to get the issue to look at it, because someone will just take a screenshot and they'll be like, "Ha, I'm not going to pay for this."
Exactly.
Thank God I got my book worth.
So I will say, as the guy that does a lot of the production and layout stuff, the fact that we had enough photos to choose from and actually have a bunch left over for the next couple issues, that made me super, super happy. So if you're a photographer or an illustrator or some sort of visual artist, make sure you reach out, because we're a lit mag, but we also publish other art too. So
And
get it over to us.
You know, the stories are great. Of course, we're all about the stories. I freaking love looking through the photos. I don't know why. It brings me joy to be like, yes, this feels like a rock and a hard place photo. And sometimes you just open them up and you're like, that's it. We're taking this one. The end.
Yeah, it's part of the mood. Part of the mood. Do other magazines out there do photos?
Voltron does.
Vogue, I think.
Oh God. I mean, you know what I mean. Snark.
I don't think Ellery Queen does, do they? Or Anthony, or the Anthony. No,
Alfred Hitchcock, yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock. No, I don't think they do.
All right. There you go. We're at the top. All right, thanks, everybody. Pick up issue 11. Also, we have Nick Kolakowski's Boise Long Pig Hunting Club came out this month. And we're going to be at BoucherCon in Nashville, a bunch of us, not everybody. So come say hello. We lost Jay. Goodbye, Jay. But thank you. Oh, there he is. He's back. All right, Jay, you have to say goodbye now.
Bye.
All right.
Jay with a good light.
And support us on Patreon, $1 a month for recordings of interviews with individual authors, $5 a month for that, and conversations of or recordings of panel discussions. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.